Okay, so last week we started asking a series of questions about how prepared are you? And we mostly talked about finances and money, but this time we are moving into uh, a different set of topics. And this is about less about money and more about uh, where you are at with where you live and your community and food. So, with that being said, today's video is about living in the country and homesteading, or that's kind of the broad overhead topic. So, the first question you need to answer or ask yourself with regards to how prepared you are, excuse me. So, because you know that the cities are going to be havens of unrest. There's going to be more violence in cities than there is in the rural or areas further out from the city. So ask yourself, how far is your home from the nearest city? If it's in the city, you're perhaps going to be less safe. If you are out in the sticks, the boonies, whatever you would like to refer to it as, chances are you're going to be safer. You are going to experience less violence, obviously. So think about this. Are you in a position to move? Maybe you're not. And that's fine. You have to do the best you can with what you have. Obviously, following up, the three types of areas that we live in. So there's the rural, and that's way out there. There's suburbs, which would be just outside the main hub of the city, and then the city itself. So the further you get out, the less likely you are going to experience problems, with violence and things of that nature. The next question I would have for you is, if you are interested in living in the rural area or in a rural area, or maybe you currently do, how much land do you have? Now, you don't need an infinite amount of land. You don't need thousands of acres. But ideally, perhaps 5 to 10 would be a good start. Maybe you could even get by with 2 to 3. You know what I mean? You just need enough to grow food, maybe even have some animals if you were interested in that sort of thing. The next question assesses your skills. Well, okay, maybe not so much your skills, but do you have off-grid capabilities? So, in the sense, are you capable of living without public water and electric? Do you have your own solar? Or are you interested in installing your own solar? What about water and septic? Without getting too graphic, in all honesty, truth be told, you can get those 5-gallon buckets and just give me like a 5-gallon bucket, put like a nice soft spot on it, and just, you can use that as your own toilet. You know what I mean? You can get for water, you can just get those 5-gallon jugs up at Walmart, So I perhaps am a little bit more prepared in that regards. I don't need public water. I have access to water myself. Does your property have a well or other private water source? Maybe you got a lake. Maybe you got your own little lake on your property. How much of your energy is generated from renewable resources such as solar or wind? These are all things that you will want to think about if you are going to, even if you live in the suburb, you could put solar on your house or even in your backyard for sure, 100%. How self-sufficient are you in terms of your basic utilities, like your water and your energy? So I kind of already touched on this already, but ask yourself anyway. Do you have a garden for growing your own produce? Even if you live in an apartment, if you got a balcony, you could start a little tiny garden out there, but ideally, you could have a good sized garden, enough to grow for the whole season. Are there any restrictions on building or modifying structures on your property? Now, you will find the closer to the city that you are, that there are going to be more restrictions. For example, I live in the city here, but if I decided I wanted to place some sort of shed or outbuilding in my backyard, I actually might need city permission from that or for that. You get out in the suburbs, maybe you won't, or even if you're out in the rural, nobody cares, right? And how would you rate the privacy level of your property? So I can speak for myself at this house, the home I'm in here. I literally, immediately to the west of me, on the other side of the block, I have a very major thoroughfare going through town. Immediately on the south side of my home, I have a street, and immediately on the east side of my home, I have a street. So unfortunately, the privacy level of this property is absolute garbage. So there's just a lot of traffic. So you can imagine, let's say there was a major riot that happened for any number of reasons. Obviously, you read the news, you see about people getting shot by agents and things of that nature, You could actually have a major issue in a city, and next thing you know, you got a mob of angry people, 2,000 people walking down the street in front of your home. That's not very good. So, again, today's video was about living in the country and homesteading. These are just questions to contemplate and think about. In our video on Friday, we will be talking about food. And then on Monday, we will conclude this two-part series, and we're going to be talking about the local community. So that'll be on Monday of next week. Again, as always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. Sunday evening at 8 p.m. every week, I will be going live. And if you want to talk about any of these things, we can talk about them. I admit I'm not as prepared as I would like to be, but I'm definitely giving thought to this stuff for sure. And I'm trying to help kind of spread the message, if you will. But so anyway, look for that video on Friday for food sovereignty. And Monday, we will be talking about local community connections. Today was about living in the country and homesteading. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.